How you doing, folks? My name's Ryan Sharkey. I'm joined by Shane Rooney and Dean Haggerty, and we're delighted to be joined by John from the Kingdom Racing Syndicate. Welcome, John, onto the podcast. How are you?
How's the farm?
Not too bad, John, and yourself?
Very good, very good.
I suppose, John, getting straight into it, what made you get into racing and start a syndicate?
Yeah, so I suppose we've been stuck in race horses in our family for going back as long as I can remember, to be honest. And we had some national hunt horses, some pointers with fairly limited success, it's fair to say. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, we had noticed Richard O'Brien, young upcoming trainer, and we're from Castleisland, County Kerry, and Richard is based in Ballingarry in Limerick. He was living in Brusna in Kerry at the time, so it was very close to home for us, and we just got chatting to him. He'd had a couple of winners with his first couple of runners. Alan's Bride was one of them, and he had a few more, and we just told him if he came across any pretty handy horse that we'd be very interested in purchasing and getting involved with him. And we picked up a horse called Indian Tomahawk for, I think it was €2,000 at the time. He had been previously very highly rated as a youngster and had just lost all his way. He was down to the bottom rating of 45, down to a basement mark, and Richard just thought we could have a bit of crack with him, and sure enough we did. He won 2 times for us in the next 4 or 5 months, and was placed a handful of times up in Dundalk, and more than paid for himself. And we had brilliant fun with him. And then we bought Chessman in 2018, and he's been brilliant, but hasn't managed to get his head in front for us yet. He's been placed and listed and placed in group company, and he ran the Flying Five, a Group 1 races we never thought we'd ever be going into, and he was only beaten like 3 lengths in the Flying Five actually. And he's still on the go. He's back in training now at the moment, so he'll be running in March or April. And then we had myself, and then just this year I wanted to get involved again and get going again, and wanted to get a horse with Richard and set up the Kingdom Racing Syndicate officially this year then, and went to the sales, and we had our eye on a good few, but we bought Irish Acclaim for very small money over there, and set up a syndicate around that. And the fairy tale part of the story is on his first run he won for us at 50 to 1 a couple of weeks ago up in Dundalk, so that was magic. And yeah, he ran again since, and ran okay. Was just didn't travel too well early on and didn't give himself any chance, but finished out his race well, and he's running tomorrow night again in Dundalk, so get plenty of fun out of him.
Yeah, and I suppose, as you said there, Richard O'Brien was probably a no-brainer for yourself, being that close to home with him. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but Chessman placed in the race Skeptical one at Naas. Would I be right in saying that?
That's right. He was 4th, I think, or was he 3rd that day? Maybe he was 3rd. Yeah, Skeptical was a freak, and just he was going to take all in front of him. Very unfortunate that he suffered his injury, but yeah, Chessman placed in that race and wasn't fully wound up for it, and we were hoping for a good year last year, and just with COVID, things just kept going wrong all the time. It scuppered everyone last year, and it was pure write-off. So he's had a nice long break now, Chessman has, and hopefully he can do something for us this year. The handicapper hasn't really relented much with him, which is frustrating. We bought him when he was rated 95, and he's still rated 97 at the moment, so he's still 2 pounds higher. He's 3 years older, and he's no races won in the meantime, which is frustrating. But I suppose he has been kind of running to that level of form. But look, hopefully he can pop up in a nice handicap for us this year and have a big day out for us.
Yeah, with a bit of luck anyway. How many members roughly would you say are part of the Kingdom Racing Syndicate?
There's about, I'd say all told, about 13 or 14 at the moment. Just everyone kind of bought in there was a lot of 5% shares, and then just before he went to the race the last day, there was only kind of, I think, about 45 or 50% officially sold in him. So it was myself, my father, and my uncle kind of took the rest of him then, but since the race, sold a couple of more shares, but he's fully sold up now. But yeah, about 13 or 14 of us.
And obviously he's been racing at Dundalk. How has the balloting system there affected you, or has it affected you at all?
It actually hasn't affected us at all with Irish Acclaim. I suppose he's rated in the 70s, and it's not too bad to get into races. You'll find races for him. With Masalsal, it's been a different story. All right, though he was ready to run kind of all December, and kept getting balloted out of all the 45 to 65s. And to be fair to the HRI and to Dundalk, there's not much you can do. They put on a couple extra meetings. They're dividing races, and there's a lot more meetings on now in January, so I think that should probably clear the backlog. But he's been unfortunate. He's had a small minor setback, not major, but it will probably rule him out for the month of January, which is a small bit frustrating. But what can you do?
Yeah, I suppose when you were going to sales, what made you buy Irish Acclaim? What stood out to you about the horse?
Yeah, so we obviously weren't able to go over to the sales. It was over in the horse and train sales in Newmarket. So I have a vet that I have a really good relationship with, college with him, and he's actually working for a yard over in Newmarket. So he went to the sales for me for the 3 days. It was actually the third day that we bought Irish Acclaim, and he vetted about, I think, 10 or 12 horses for us. So that was like, I think that was kind of important. Number one, to get his soundness, and two, he's a great judge of a horse, and he was well able to tell me how physically sound he was. And just in terms of picking Irish Claim, then I suppose I knew he was probably going to be gone for small money. He had 3 very poor runs prior to the sales, but he was only a 3-year-old, and his runs before that were really good. He won a maiden in February of 2020, and won it quite well up in Kempton, won it from the front, and then went off the boil in his next 3 runs. But he ran around the place out the back of the field a few times and really looked like he needed a gelding. And we got him home, gelded him, and Richard just started him off. And the initial plan was actually to geld him and leave him off until January time and bring him back into training and crack on then. But Richard just felt he took the gelding very well, and said, why not take our chance in Dundalk? And thankfully it paid off.
And were you expecting to win that race, or just
we had a small. Everyone, I think most people in Syndicate had a small few Bobby Tree. I didn't think he was a 50-1 shot, but I certainly didn't think he was going to go and win. But Richard actually had a double on the night. A few of the lads had a few small each ways on that double, and that paid 600 to 1 or something like that.
Jesus.
It's pretty profitable night for a lot of fellas up there.
That certainly would have been nice anyway. I'm going to pass you over to Dean now.
Very good.
Hi, John. John, did I see you correctly there? Did you have a filly there bought recently as well?
That's right. Yeah. That was bought. She's a Memas filly. Richard picked her up after one of the sales, and Richard had just picked her up and got onto me and said, would I have an interest in taking her off him and syndicating her? And she looked like an absolute no-brainer to me. She's, again, bought for very small money. She's by Memas, who cost 25,000 this year alone. And her sales price was 3.5 grand only as a yearling. Now that obviously is that she was bought by an agent and then sent to Richard, so it's going to be small more than that to get her to the end of the year and get her broken. But it's going to be comparatively pretty small money to take a share in her. And her mother then is Pure Bell, I think is her name, or Pearl Bell, and she ran twice as a 2-year-old and had 2 very good runs. Had a couple of horses in behind that ended up with ratings of over 100. Now she hasn't produced anything of note yet, but this filly looks like she could be very interesting anyway. And for small money, if she was to go away and do anything this year, she'd be adding serious value to herself. So she's kind of a different proposition to the likes of Irish Acclaim, where you're getting a horse with Irish Acclaim who's a handicapper who's already won and done the business, and you're just hoping that he can come back to form. Whereas obviously with an unraced yearling for pretty small money, you're taking a big gamble, but potential reward is a pretty big payout if she was to do something this year. So yeah, she's very exciting, definitely.
Yeah, just Memas in particular had a great season last season as a sire, because as me and Ryan there was involved in Nick Bradley, or is involved in Nick Bradley, and like he was very keen on a couple of his memasses. Like, and fillies, 2-year-old career is very important. You know, if they can pick up black type at all, it increases their market value then for sales dramatically, doesn't it? Is that something maybe
Oh,
that you would be looking at?
yeah, so she looks really compact, and she looks like a real sprinter. And sometimes you can have a lot of luck with, I suppose, the dream for a filly obviously is that she's good enough to go for Guineas trials. So it's not really the market. Obviously, we're tapping into that kind of money, but
Yeah.
she looks like a real sprinter. And there's a lot in Ireland, in fairness, for 5 and 6 furlong horses, and just hopefully Memas looks like he's breeding real speedy types, and that's what she looks like. And look, hopefully she can go and do something this year. That'll be amazing. But it's pretty low risk and potential high reward with that one. And yeah, Memas has had unbelievable season last year, and just hopefully we're onto a bit of a winner here.
Is it yourself that takes charge of placing the horses, or is it kind of a mix between? Is there a couple of senior members in the syndicate?
Yeah, we'd all have a chat, but to be honest, mainly guided now by Richard. Richard knows the program as well as anyone around, and you kind of let Richard see what he thinks. And Richard's typical motto is he starts them off probably at a distance that's maybe shorter than their best, but he'd like to see them showing something that day and maybe passing a few on their first day out, and that's a good result. And if they show something, then we'll you're in business. But yeah, they're kind of dictated by Richard. Really, he knows better than us. So Richard can pick away with the likes of Irish Acclaim or a handicapper or a Chessman. You've got so many options with Chessman, for example. You can pick listed or handicap races. So we would have probably more of an input with a horse like that. All right. And as well with the likes of Irish Acclaim, I suppose different times now that we can't go racing, but you'd maybe pick bigger festivals in the summer, if that makes any sense, just to get the syndicate racing and get lads going racing on the big days. But obviously that's not a consideration at the moment, just with crowds not being racing or whatever. But yeah, you can have more of an input at that stage. But I'd say with a 2-year-old filly, we'll just let Richard dictate and see what he feels like.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And for yourselves, you just have a website and all, do you, John?
Yeah. kingdomracing.com.
I'm sure, Ryan, you can probably pop that in the description below for anybody that wants to check it out and or find us on social media. You're on all social medias, I take it as well, yeah.
Our Twitter page is probably the most active one. That's the one where we're best to contact. And yeah, hopefully later on at some stage this year, if things keep going reasonably well, we might pick up one more horse to go, one more handicapper maybe to go running away during the summer. And but that'll be later on in the year. But I suppose obviously the dream is you want to get a horse that's going to compete in Premier handicaps, and hopefully vaccine starts to take really good shape and take good effect over the coming weeks and months. And if you're back racing for the likes of Galway, which hopefully that's not too ambitious, that we can have crowds back. It's meetings like that syndicates want to be going to, and they're the days out that we're all looking for. So yeah, hopefully we can get there again.
Good man. I'll pass you on over to Shane Rooney there now, Shane.
Yeah, well, sure, look at like that's it. Like, and you said it yourself there, John. Like Galway, especially, like, is definitely one of the best racing festivals in Ireland, anyway. But my first question anyway was going to be, I suppose, what was the plan for, I suppose, the coming year, and like what was the dream, I suppose, best case scenario? Like, is it just, I suppose, to expand, or is there any particular races that you'd be looking to maybe try and land a bit of a flutter, or is it just?
Yeah, to be honest, I suppose the dream with Irish Acclaim was if he could win one and maybe win again. Well, you're looking at Premier Handicap company off a mid to low 80s, and that would be the dream with him, that he sneaks into the bottom of one of the big handicaps off a low weight, and maybe he can go and do something that would be the absolute dream scenario. But that's probably ambitious. But with Chessman, I suppose, I just don't know. He's a 7-year-old now, and he's going to be in all the big handicaps this year. Just really hoping he'll land something for us this year. Probably won't be his first or second run, but sometime in the middle of the year, he's probably worth keeping a close eye on in some of the hotter races, I suppose. But yeah, Chessman is one you can think about planning something with, but he actually needs a lot of minding then as well. So it's really hard to execute, I suppose, exactly all the races you're hoping to do all year, and that takes serious skill and serious planning, and you need the horse to go with you as well. You need a fit, strong horse when you're planning any bit of a coup. You need to be able to trust your horse, and just he's a bit fragile. So I suppose it'll be a case of minding him and run him when we can. But as I said, hopefully he can land us a nice pot this year.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose before we go into the nitty gritty and going into I suppose the end of the podcast, like I noticed like the two lads that didn't actually cover, say the sort of percentage shares that are still available, say for people that are looking to join the syndicate and everything else like that. I suppose just give a basic general information about like what's basically left and what people can do to get involved.
Sound, yeah. So I suppose Irish Acclaim has been fully sold up after his win the first day, and then we're on to the Memas filly, who I suppose I haven't done the final books on yet because I just haven't had a chance after Christmas. Things are slow. But I'd say will be she'll roughly cost between agents' fees and price of sales and transport to Richards and everything. You'd be talking somewhere around the 7,000 mark, I'd say. So a 5% share of her is going to be €350, and that's all you have to do. Then that's your first share, and that'll start her off, and then it's just training and all the fees for the rest of the year, which will be divvied out as well. But it's the most affordable way to get involved in horse race ownership if you ever wanted to, and like you can get involved in some clubs and stuff that actually don't give you the ownership. This is when you buy a 5% share here, you just own 5% of the horse, and then you get your vote. And I suppose with the Memas filly, if she was to go and do something this year, I think we'd all be voting to sell her. Maybe if she was middle of the road, you might want to keep her on and race away next year. And again, that's entirely your decision, and it'll be a majority rules. So it's very very transparent, and we're very open with how we run it, and like we're all looking for a bit of crack at a low cost, and I think she could give it to us. But yeah, if anyone ever is interested in going to the sales or looking to take a small share, just give us a shout. Like we'll always know something, and Richard always has his eye on one or two, or we go to the sales again if there was enough interest. I'd certainly have no problem picking out a few at the sales. I think we're reasonably good at it. It's usually myself, my uncle, and Richard will sit down and go through the catalogue and pick out a number of horses, and then you just have to vet them and hope that you're lucky with your price that you pick them up for, and you have a budget in mind, and just that's it. You're dictated by that. But yeah, it's just a matter of going through these catalogues and finding something that maybe you think they've been running that horse over too long or too short, or maybe it needs a gelding, or just a change of scenery to Richards sometimes is all it can take. And it's pure luck and opinion when you're going to the sales, but thankfully we've been reasonably lucky so far. But yeah, always looking to expand and looking to get more horses in. Sure, the more horses you have, the more interested you are, and we only want, like for me personally, I'd be just as happy to take a 5% share in another horse. I'd rather be, I suppose, on the other side, but I'm quite happy to manage syndicates and get more interest and more fellas involved in racing, and it's more horses for Richard, and I love supporting Richard, and like he's brilliant. But yeah, just give us a shout if you ever looking for anything.
Yeah, well, like that's it. Like obviously Ryan is the man that does the editing of the videos and everything else like that. Like, so he'll make sure to leave a link in the description, say, for all your websites and everything else like that. But is there anything else that you want to ask? Because I'm not really sure. I think I've covered anyway most of the things that I'd like to cover anyway. Is there anything else that you might have off the top of your heads?
Yeah, our Irish Claim won on debut fairly well at 6 furlongs. Is 7 furlongs the ideal trip?
That's a good one. We actually don't know. I suppose he won his maiden already over 7 furlongs last year, and he didn't look to be tying up. I'd actually draw a line through his last run. He must have been 15 lengths off the leader coming in for the home turn, and they just didn't go too fast. He just didn't travel very well in the first furlong, gave himself and Scott no chance, and he's only beaten 5 lengths, so I actually put that down as a very good run. He's opened up 20-1 tomorrow night. I wouldn't go back him this evening, but geez, I'd say he's worth a few bob each way tomorrow in the afternoon if he stays that kind of price, 20 or 25. So I was very surprised to see that there on Odds Checker just before I was chatting to you.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed that myself, actually. I suppose aside from Irish Claim, have you looked at the rest of the card for Dundalk tomorrow?
Didn't give much of a look, but I looked at the Claimer all right, and I didn't see the odds of that one before I came in. But Raphael is one that you would be very, very interested in even potentially claiming. Now I won't be going and doing it, but if he was a horse, now I know from reading some of Adrian McGuinness's quotes before, he's bled after a race before, so that might be a bit of a worry, but he looks very well handicapped, and he won as easy as you like the run before last up there. So he's probably going to go very close on the Claimer, and I'd imagine he'd be claimed afterwards at that kind of price. But that's another one. If people are looking to get involved in horse racing, keeping an eye on them Claimers. There's often great value to be had in them. People are just come to the end of their tether with certain horses, and they might be handicapped to do something in a new yard and just to change the scenery. But yeah, that's Raphael looks like a good price at 14 grand tomorrow night, and I'd say he's probably going to win that Claimer.
Yeah, well, that's it from me. Dean, have you anything else?
No, just on the syndicate as a whole, John. How do you find managing it? I was involved with one last year. Kind of took the runnings of it. It was just a local one around here. It didn't have a winner out of it, but we had 4 seconds. We had a bit of crack, but it's kind of hard to keep folks interested then in the end. How do you find running it?
Yeah, I don't mind it, to be honest, and it's easy enough at the moment with Irish Acclaim when he's running, obviously after his win, and it's just made life very, very easy for me to go. You're going asking lads if he ran poorly, going asking lads in January, look, we got to get some money in the kitty here to pay the training fees for the year. And now it's very clear. I've laid all that out to start, and people know what they're signing up for. But it's much easier to pay your fees when your horse is going well. And then the other problem again at the moment, and I keep harping on and going back to it, even if your horse is running poorly and you're getting days out and going racing, you probably don't mind it too much. You're able to have a bit of crack. But if your horse is running poorly at the moment and you're sitting at home watching it on TV on a Friday night, scratching your head, wondering where we go here, there is not much fun in that, and it's hard to manage that. But yeah, we kept expectations reasonably low. And then the other thing with Irish, there is claimer options up in Dundalk, and he'd be a good claim for somebody probably. And if he runs well, yeah, we've got all summer to be looking forward to, and handicap company maybe, and just there's potentially plenty of options. So that kind of makes my life really easy for keeping lads interested, and the Dundalk program, to be fair, is there's something every week or every second week for a horse anyway, so it's always something to be looking forward to, something to look forward to up there. And yeah, this fella has made life very easy for me, and hopefully they'll all keep doing that.
Yeah, well, best of luck with the Memas fella, and I hope she manages to get her head in front for you at least once, because that will increase her market value. And if you do decide to sell, I hope he fetches plenty of cash for the owners now.
Too much.
Brian, you want to do an outro?
Let Shane at it. He's the master.
No, you may as well crack on there, Ryan. I don't mind.
No bother. Well, I suppose that wraps up everything. John, thank you very much for coming on such short notice. We will be leaving a link to all your social medias down in the description below. Go check them out if you haven't already. And thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our Patreon. That'll be in the link below as well. And yeah, other than that, thanks for watching and peace.